folks, Cal Kellogg here. It is January 29th and it is time for another video podcast. I am just getting ready to go do some sturgeon fishing. The sturgeon fishing's been pretty darn good and it's going to get a whole lot better. I will be out on the Happy Hooker on February 7th. Hosting a group of fish sniffer readers out there. If you want to join us, I'll put the phone number down below here. Give Captain Chris and Jonathan a call and join us out on the water. We're going to depart from the Martinez Marina on the Happy Hooker, and we are going to go out in search of sturgeon. So along those lines, I was just setting up my sturgeon rod just today. So, and I thought I'd go over with you guys what you need to go sturgeon fishing. Now, I'm not making this for the sturgeon pros out there. You guys know what to use. This is for the casual guy who's never caught a sturgeon, maybe has never gone sturgeon fishing. So I thought I'd just show you the rig that I'm going to use and why. Now, what I've got here, I've got an ugly stick tiger rod. I've got a 7-foot rod, and let me read it. It is rated for 30 to 60 pound line. It's a pretty heavy rod. It's not my heaviest ugly stick. I have one I use for lingcod fishing that's even heavier than this. It's rated for line up to 80 pound test. Now, this rod, it has all the properties that I think are important for a sturgeon rod. And be warned, this is not light tackle. You could sturgeon fish with a lot lighter gear than this. I don't get to go sturgeon fishing that often, and I want to land a fish. So this is my money gear. This is the stuff that I take out to fight a big fish. First and foremost about this rod is that, I'm going to aim the tip here at the camera. It has I think you can see that, it has a sensitive tip. Sturgeon don't bite real hard. Probably going to get some action like that when a sturgeon comes biting on my roe or my eel. So it's got a soft tip, but if I load it, it's got a fast action tip, and I'm immediately into the backbone, the power of the rod. Now, this is a rod that if I'm out there and I'm using an 8 to 12 ounce sinker, I get a sturgeon biting, I thumb my reel, I can set, I can move that sinker, I can drive the hook home, and I can control a big fish. Now, I'm hoping to catch a keeper sturgeon, something between 40 and 60 inches long. You never know when you're sturgeon fishing. The next bite could be from a 16-inch fish, or it could be a 250-pound fish. You just don't know, so I like to go with a fairly stout rod, something I can handle a big fish with. And that brings us to the reel. This isn't a super expensive rod. This is about probably a $79 rod. It's been kicking around my garage forever. I use it a few times a year for sturgeon fishing, and that's about it. The reel, this is a Penn Fathom. It's a lever drag reel. You can use a lever drag or a star drag, but the main point about it is it's a fairly fast reel. I've got it spooled up with 65 pound test braided line. If you're going sturgeon fishing, you want to be spooled up with 50 to 65 pound braided line. Virtually zero stretch. Gives you a real positive hook set, and obviously, I mean, it's 50 to 65 pound test. You've got a lot of power to play a fish. The thing I like about the Penn, it's got a very smooth drag system. That means if I get a big fish on there and he's hot and he's running, reel's not going to have any problem. I mean, this is a reel made for catching tuna, so I'm not going to have any problem with a sturgeon. The reason it's good to have a fast reel is that a lot of times when you set the hook on a sturgeon, they'll come right at the boat or they'll go up to jump, and you want to be able to retrieve line quickly. Now, you don't need a Penn Fathom. There's a lot of other options out there. You just want a reel that's fairly fast. You want plenty of line capacity, and again, you want it spooled up with braided line. So let's talk a little bit about the reel, and then I'll finish up by talking about some points on how to hook sturgeon. Here's my end tackle. Let me pull a little line. I'm actually going to set the rod down here. Hey, I'm back. Well, almost. Here we go. So, when you go sturgeon fishing, you're going to be using a sliding sinker rig. Here's my Slido. It's just a simple plastic sleeve with a snap. That's where I'm going to put my weight. That's on my main line. I've got that followed up with a good sized, actually this one's huge, a good sized snap swivel. they're not tackle shy. So, use the heavy stuff if you got it. Connected to the snap swivel, I've got P-Line CXX 80-pound test mono. That's an 18.5-inch leader. Notice I've got an egg sinker on the leader. That's a little under half an ounce probably. That keeps my bait flat on the bottom. Remember, these are bottom feeders we're going after. They feed on the bottom. And on the business end of that leader, I have a 9/0 Gamakatsu octopus hook with the barb completely smashed down flat. Now, I'm going on a happy hooker, so they're going to have a whole bunch of leaders, and the deckhand's going to be baiting leaders. So I'll probably use this leader one time, and then it's going to go back into the rotation of leaders that are available on the boat. So, which is fine. They rig theirs up pretty much like this. They'll probably be using a different hook. A lot of the charter boats, they like to use a black bass hook, a heavy flipping hook with the barb pinched down. They have good success with them. I have no problem. They work great. And I'm probably going to be fishing roe or eel or a combination of those. My personal favorite bait is eel, but roe's great. If you got a whole bunch of roe, it works really well. The reason I don't use roe on my own boats is to be effective with roe, you need a pretty good supply, and I'm not one of those guys that's rolling around with 25 pounds of roe in my freezer. A lamprey eel, on the other hand, one eel will get me through the whole season. It's very tough. Bait stealers don't mess with it. I keep freshening it up with ProCure. ProCure, the gel scents are great, or you can marinate the eel in bait oil. Again, these are bottom feeders. You want scent in the water. You want your bait on the bottom. And then after that, it's all about patience and anchoring the boat in the correct area. Anybody who hasn't caught a sturgeon, even if you have your own boat, the best thing you can do is go out with a guide, either on a charter boat or a 6-pack boat. Ask a lot of questions. You're probably going to get a chance at a sturgeon on a trip like that, but you are going to learn a whole bunch. It's going to shorten that learning curve when you do go out in your own boat by many, many days. And I got to tell you, California sturgeon fishing, even in the best of conditions, it can be tough. When I started sturgeon fishing, I got keepers on my first 3 trips. I got them all on one piece of eel, and then after that third fish, it took me 70 hours to get another hookup. So it can be like that. You could have hot streaks, cold streaks. You got to be patient. You got to put in your time. Having said that, I think every angler in California should go out and catch at least one sturgeon. It's something you need to experience. They have unbelievable strength. Every sturgeon you catch fights different. A lot of them will try to stay on the bottom, but man, every once in a while you'll get a fish that jumps like a sailfish, makes multiple jumps. It's just awesome. So let's talk a little bit, let's sum up here with a little bit of execution. I mean, I've seen a lot of sturgeon caught and I've seen a lot of sturgeon missed. So here's some things that you can do to really put the odds in your favor beyond going with a charter boat skipper or a 6-pack skipper. So let me grab the rod again. So, retrieve a little bit of line. Tighten the drag a little bit for that. So your sturgeon, they have that iconic vacuum suction mouth. So when you get a bite, I'm wrapped a little bit there. Let's see. Pull in just a little bit more line. I'm all tangled up here, but anyway, that's about par for the course. Now I'm hooked in my sleeve. So okay, now everything's all clear. They've got that vacuum mouth, and what you're going to get, usually in a charter boat, on my own boat, I fish in a balancer, which means the rod's balanced, and when you get a bite, the rod's going to go like that. Typically, you're not going to use a balancer on a charter boat. You're going to have it in a regular rod holder, and you're going to start to get a bite. It might be just a little tap. It might be a stronger kind of pump action like that. Bottom line is, when that happens, you're going to want to slide the rod out of the holder. Here's what you don't want to do. Jerk the rod out of the holder and go like that. You just pulled the bait out of the fish's mouth probably. So ease that rod out gently, get it down, give that fish just a little bit of slack, and then get in position. When you're in position, what you're feeling for that fish to be biting. And this is what it feels like when they're feeding with that suction mouth. My dog saw a cat or something. Anyway, we'll continue. It feels like someone's got the sleeve on your shirt and they're pulling on it, and they're pulling on it. When you feel that pressure, that is the time to make your move. Be in a good position, thumb that reel, set the hook good, and immediately start working the reel. You don't want to be the guy that does this. Sets the hook and then looks at the rod tip. Did I hook them? No, that's the way you lose one. Remember, it's a big hook. It's a big barbless hook. They can shake it in a heartbeat. Plus, you've got a big giant sinker on there. That's leverage for them to throw the hook. When you set that hook, you immediately get on the reel and start retrieving line. If you missed them, you missed them. If you hooked them, you got to get the slack out of the line. You got to get tight to the fish, and you got to get ready to fight that fish. Remember, this might be a 59-inch long, 50-pound fish. So you might be in it for the long haul. Once you're hooked up on a sturgeon, if you're on your own boat, well, you're on your own. If you're on a charter boat, listen to the skipper, listen to the deckhand. You want to keep that fish in front of you. You want to stay on the reel. None of this Roland Martin heroics, I'm pumping this fish up and I look really cool. Yeah, you look really cool until the fish comes off. What you want to do, keep the rod at 45 degrees, keep the rod tip loaded against the fish, and never stop reeling. Keep reeling. If the fish runs, keep reeling, because when that fish turns around, you're going to be retrieving line. You're not going to get a bunch of slack and lose the fish. So those are kind of my pet peeves on sturgeon fishing. You look a lot cooler with a sturgeon in the boat than you do doing all this pumping and reeling and all that kind of stuff you see on television. So same as with anything else, get the hook in the fish, keep working the reel, keep the line tight, use heavy enough tackle for the fish you're targeting, and get ready to yell fish on. Catching sturgeon is a thrill. You're going to love it. If you've never caught one, get out there, give it a try. Everybody should catch one. I'll be out there shooting some video. Hopefully you'll get to see some video of me fighting a big old sturgeon. Join me on February 7th and we can talk more about sturgeon fishing and we can see some caught firsthand. Anyway, I'll have a bunch of prizes on the boat. It's going to be a good time for everybody. If you have any other questions, leave them in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer them. And I'll catch you on my next video podcast real soon. This is Kel Kellogg signing off. Got to go catch this crazy dog. She's bothering the neighbors. Anyway, I'll catch you later, folks. Have a great day and we'll talk soon. Bye.